Is Kybella effective for a double chin? The way Kybella works is this is a substance that interrupts the cell membrane on fat cells, and so it makes those cells go away. The thing with Kybella is it also causes a bit of inflammation, which on the positive side, if you have some inflammation, that can cause some skin contracture, and so can cause the skin to come up the way you want it to be. On the downside, this can cause a fair amount of swelling, and everyone is different depending on how much Kybella is injected, how much fat you have to start with, how much is skin laxity and how much is fat, of how much swelling you have. But it can be 2 to 3 times the size of what your double chin is to start with. This can take time to go down. It can be a couple weeks. This can be 4 to 6 weeks to go down. And then you're thinking about having the next injection. So this is a series of injections anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks apart. And they recommend between 2 and 6 injections. And so this is a lot of time being really, really swollen to go down for this effect. And effectiveness compared to something like liposuction, you're gonna have a lot more effectiveness of the liposuction where you know what you're taking out, you know that you are physically taking out and that fat is gone. There is not near as much swelling with liposuction compared to Kybella. So effectiveness compared to the alternatives, it's all relative, I guess. Can it work? Yes. Does it work in everybody? Not as effectively as we would like for it to. Does it work great in some people? Some people it does. But it's just that pro and con of a non-invasive procedure that can have prolonged swelling versus a surgery. Some people just don't want to have a surgical procedure, and that's understandable. How much does Kybella cost for a double chin? This depends on how much is used, how many sessions you have, and who is doing your injections, because every injector is going to have a different cost for Kybella, and you may need 1 or 2 sessions, you may need all 6 sessions. After about 2 or 3 sessions, the cost of liposuction is actually less than Kybella in most cases. So that is something to look at and to weigh out whenever you are looking at which procedure you want to have. How long does Kybella last? Just like liposuction, when Kybella gets rid of the fat cells, they're gone. So the fat cells that are gone, but there still will be some fat cells there. If your weight does fluctuate, those fat cells can get larger, and so you can have some change in that area over time. So it should last a very long time unless your weight does fluctuate. Can a double chin come back after Kybella? It can, because you're getting rid of some of the fat cells, but not all of the fat cells. So if your weight does fluctuate, you will see fluctuations in that area. If your weight does fluctuate, you will see fluctuations in that area. I have seen it come back if that patient does gain weight and kind of stay the same if maybe they stay the same or do lose weight. The other thing to consider is this is causing a fair amount of inflammation, and I have seen people who actually looked worse after Kybella because there is some scar tissue. This can become hard in some people and then is very hard to address. And so it can come back in the way that the fat is back, but it also can come back in a way that that inflammation is causing more volume in that soft tissue. Can Kybella go wrong? Any procedure has risks, so you could say anything potentially could go wrong because there are risks. The way I've seen Kybella not work the way we wanted it to is maybe if there's prolonged swelling for a really long time. It's difficult to go from a place that you really don't like, getting swollen 2 to 3 times the size of what it was, and being that way for weeks and doing this multiple times. I wouldn't say that's going wrong in any way, but I would say that's maybe not exactly ideal. There are nerves in this area, and if you inject too close to those nerves, the cells that are around the nerves have high fat content, and it can affect that. So you can have a change in your smile or the way that you move your mouth. You can see this if you inject under the chin, and some people will inject the jowls. And so you really want an experienced injector if you're doing that injection along the jowls, because that nerve runs right there. Potentially you can have things like skin necrosis, which means that skin can change colors. It can actually die if this is injected wrong. So this is absolutely something you shouldn't just go anywhere to have injected. A lot of things to consider whenever you're considering Kybella, and compare that to the other things that are out there and ways that you can address that area. What is the effectiveness? What is the true cost with this? And what can go wrong? Have questions? I help people like you every day. Please call or email, and I'll talk to you soon.